The Rangers went into Seattle with a chance to claw back in this race for the AL West, but all they did was maybe dig themselves even further in a hole they may not be able to get out of now. Talking about all that and more on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the World Series champion Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan covering this team for 11 seasons, including all 6 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank y'all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick, follow the show at Locked On Rangers, hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, before we get into the absolute offensive abysmalness of this weekend that was unfortunately just more of the freaking same, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Now, getting started is not what this offense did at all this weekend. Just a truly... Don't stop me if you've heard this before, because you've absolutely heard this before about 100,000 times on this show. Just this year alone, this offense, I think it's time to accept the fact that this year, maybe not all these hitters for the rest of time, but at least for this year, this offense just freaking stinks. It stinks. It's bad. They cannot hit. They cannot walk. They cannot slug. They cannot get on base. They cannot have productive at-bats. This offense can't do a dadgum thing right now. At all. And I'm sick of it. And they're sick of it. And some of you may be saying, okay, this is a little dramatic coming into Seattle. They've got a great pitching staff. There's a lot of really great starters on the mound that were, it's hard to do a lot against Seattle in Seattle. It's a pitcher's ballpark, and they've got the best pitching staff in the league. Okay. I'll give you that. I'll give you that's accurate. But, this Rangers offense, the excuses they keep coming up for their offense, and people, myself at points even included, coming up for this offense every once in a while. It kind of reminds me of, everyone has that friend that every time they tell you about their dating life or their roommates, no matter who they're dating, no matter who their roommate is, 2 different types of people that are basically the same type of person for this illustration, those roommates or boyfriends, girlfriends, partners, they just always suck. And, if you're a person, you have a bad boyfriend, a bad partner, a bad girlfriend, every once in a while, then, maybe that partner just didn't fit. Maybe they just weren't a great person. Maybe if you had one bad roommate out of 5, then maybe that one roommate sucked. But if every roommate you ever have is a problem, if every romantic partner you have is a problem, heck, if every random stranger on the street just rubs you the wrong way, you're like, ugh, I ran into this jerk at the mall, or this jerk at the airport, or whatever. If everyone you run into is a problem, then you're the problem. You're the common denominator. That's how I feel about this Rangers offense. Every once in a while, a pitcher having a great day, shutting down a good offense, it happens. It happens to literally every offense. It happened to this offense last year at times, which this offense, in case you forgot, was actually really amazing last year. But this year, when everybody shuts you down, if every pitcher is just having the best day of their life against you, maybe your offense just freaking stinks. And that's where this team is right now. It's nice to give Logan Gilbert credit for having a great day. And he did. It was a really good pitching performance for Logan Gilbert on Sunday. Only 2 hits, no walks, 9 strikeouts, shutout ball. That's a good day. He's a good pitcher. He'll do that to even really good lineups at times. But this lineup is not good. They cannot hit. They have not been able to hit for a month and a half. Now, when this team scores 5 runs or more, they're they've been basically unstoppable this year. They've only lost 3 times all year when they've scored 5 or more runs. But in the last basically 6.5 weeks, let's say the last month, since this, I'm recording this on June 16th, since May 16th, you know how many times this offense has scored 5 or more runs? They've done it twice in the month of May, and they have done it 1, 2, 3, 4 times in the month of June so far. That's not a lot of times in a month and a half. Heck, if you want to go back another week to the 9th, you add 0 more times that this team has scored 5 or more runs. That's the most mind-boggling, frustrating part about this team not being very good this year. It's not that they had so many pitching injuries, not that they didn't have a good enough, deep enough bullpen. It's that the offense, just everyone who was a good to very good to even decent hitter last year, outside of Josh Smith, everyone else is just gone in the gutter, in the pooper. It's all been terrible. And you can maybe look at the ball not carrying as far this year. Maybe you can look at the ball being dejuiced a little bit. But that only does so much. It's not like literally nobody is scoring in the rest of Major League Baseball. There are still plenty of good hitters that are hitting like good hitters. Aaron Judge has an OPS of, I believe, 13 billion right now. Shohei Ohtani is still hitting like Shohei Ohtani. Heck, Jurickson Profar is having a career year this year. So it's not impossible to hit well in this environment. But it is for basically everybody in this lineup that's not Marcus Semien, Corey Seager, or Josh Smith, who also happens to be nursing an injury, because why not? Why not? Just as soon as you get Corey Seager back, Josh Smith ends up tweaking something. We haven't seen him basically all weekend. We saw him for a pinch hit appearance, but he was getting pinch ran for by Sam Huff. Now, not only because he was pinch hitting for catcher Andrew Kisner, but because whatever's going on with Josh Smith, he can't even run the bases. It's just not a great time to be a person who likes watching runs being scored for your favorite baseball team, if your favorite baseball team is the Texas Rangers. And I have hypothesized, and I have prophesied, and I have, looked into numbers and all kinds of different things, but I don't know. I'm out of ideas of why this offense just stinks. It just does. And I would like it to not. I would like it to figure out how to hit against even bad pitchers. We'll start with hitting bad pitchers for extra base hits, home runs, singles, bloop somethings. We'll start with that. Then maybe you can get to the medium pitchers and figure out how to hit medium against them. And then you can worry about, maybe we can occasionally have a good day against a Logan Gilbert, against a Luis Castillo, against a George Kruger, against a whoever is thrown out there. But if you're not hitting against just the number 5 pitcher in rotation against teams like the Nationals or the Tigers or what have you, then you really kind of don't have the right to be like, this one pitcher just had a good day. No, every pitcher has a good day against you because you are not good. And you need to figure out how to get good again. These are not old, washed hitters that have nothing left to offer. These are guys who literally just last year, sometimes, in some cases a couple years ago, were phenomenal hitters. Were sometimes around the better hitters in baseball. But for whatever reason, whatever magic funk is infecting this team, it is contagious. And it is bad. Whatever it is, it's bad. You have Evan Carter on the shelf, who wasn't exactly hitting the daylights out of the baseball before he went on the shelf. You do have Josh Young on the mend. He is heading to Round Rock as we speak, or as I speak. I don't know if you're speaking right now, but he's probably already been there as you were listening to this, because as this episode is out, he has already started his rehab assignment. But adding one Josh Young will not fix everybody else in this lineup. Adding one Josh Young will not make Adolis Garcia be hitting above 220 with an OPS above 700. It will not fix Nathaniel Lowe, who, by the way, got one of 2 hits in this game on Sunday. 2. That's it. 2 whole hits. At least one of them was an extra base hit. It was actually a good piece of hitting by Nathaniel Lowe. Really good piece of hitting. Took a ball, low and inside, just drilled it right down the line for a double. Good on him. Somebody doing something. Because the rest of this offense has done just a whole lot of nothing, and I am at my wit's end trying to figure out or describe or get any kind of understanding of what the heck is going on with this bad hitting team. Other than that, they're just now a bad hitting team, and I don't really like that very much. Coming up to talk about more about this weekend series and some cracks in the rotation and why they might be finally getting some more help on the way. Right after this word for our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Summertime means baseball, the NBA Finals, and more. You can bet on it all on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 you can use to bet on everything from the Finals MVP to who's going to hit one out of the park. They've still got some great odds on the Mavericks coming back and staving off a sweep, thankfully. If you're still a believer in the Mavericks being the first team to come down from 3-0, come back from down 3-0 in the NBA Finals, they are plus 1,400 to win the Finals. Boston is minus 3,500. Luka Doncic is at plus 1,400 for Finals MVP in 2024. Or if you wanted to bet on some Rangers World Series odds, you know what? Go look at it. Go check it up yourself. It is it is a long shot, just like it is for the Mavs to maybe come back. But if you're feeling optimistic, then head on. Or even if you're not feeling optimistic, head over to FanDuel.com/lockedon and add a big win to your summer bucket list. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. With PrizePicks, you can turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite sports this summer. You can make a PrizePicks lineup in as little as 60 seconds. You just need to pick more or less on 2 to 6 players' stat projections, and you are locked in. If you're looking for promotions, then PrizePicks has got you covered every week, from lowering select players' stat projections on Tuesdays, which increases your chance of getting a win, to getting your entry fees back if you have a losing lineup on Fridays. Baseball season is officially underway, and there is no better way to cash in on the action than PrizePicks. Add your favorite players from the diamond into your PrizePicks entries all season long. Whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs, take your pick of more or less, then add them to your PrizePicks entry today. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Now, the Rangers starting pitchers have really carried this team throughout the first half of the season to where we are right now. 71 games into the season, which I feel like is a decent time to, take stock and levy some judgments against this team, make some assessments about how good or not good this team actually is. And so far, the starting pitching has not been the problem. But this weekend, it still wasn't the main problem, but it became a problem, which is not what you want when your offense is also a problem. You can't have your starting pitching and your offense both be problems. That's when you go from mediocre team just scratching and clawing to stay in the race to bad team that can't win at all. That's not where the Rangers want to be. And this weekend was just not a great showing for really pretty much any starting pitcher in this rotation. It was a bad day for Andrew Heaney. Not terrible, but not a great day. He went 4 2/3 innings and allowed 3 runs, and thankfully Jose Urena kept this team in it, gave them a chance to win, and the offense just couldn't do much of anything outside of those first 2 inning runs. They literally could not score again the rest of this game. Dane Dunning had an okay outing that was made to look worse because of a 2-base wild pitch. I have not seen that in a long time. At least not a 2-base wild pitch that allowed a runner to score from second base. I've seen it from first base to third. But going from second base to home, and an offense that can't score very much either. It's not like this Mariners offense is just, blowing people's doors off. They can't really score much either. But the Rangers couldn't outscore them. Now, I do want to give Dane Dunning credit for battling back after a really difficult first inning where he did keep runs off the board. It was a tough outing for sure, but it was made even more difficult by having to have a 14 pitch at bat with Josh Rojas. I didn't really get Josh Rojas and why he was so successful and why he was so appreciated by Mariners fans, but seeing that at bat, fouling off what felt like about 117 straight pitches. It wasn't quite. It was a lot. From pitch 6 to pitch 14. 6 to I think that's 8 straight foul balls that he had on a full count. This guy was just an absolute nightmare for Dane Dunning in that at-bat. Ends up flying out, but battles back after that to have a decent day. Ends up with 8 strikeouts. Did have 3 walks. Not ideal, but still was limiting the base runners, limiting the damage there. And only the second run that he allowed came off of that stupid wild pitch that the Rangers reviewed for some reason, even though the guy was very obviously safe. I think it was just more to, double down on the embarrassment. I really have no idea why they challenged that, other than it's like, screw it, we got to use our challenge on something. And, they decided to use it on that, which was certainly a choice. But the rest of this rotation, I mean, really the most frustrating one was Nathan Eovaldi just having a straight-up bad outing. You don't see him have that many bad outings very often. I mean, 4 walks in 3 innings. You can't get past 3 innings of work against this Mariners offense. That's a bad day. Let's say really bad day in a game where the Rangers, it was the only starting pitching matchup where the Rangers had the leg up in this whole series. And George Kirby absolutely dominated Nathan Eovaldi. He way outpitched him by 1,000,000 miles. However you measure pitching success in distance. Maybe it's in kilometers. We're not in Canada, so I guess it's still in miles in Seattle. But still, this was a rough outing. It was the one time where the Rangers actually were able to score runs on this Mariners team. They would drop 4 runs on Bizardo in the 9th inning, had the go-ahead run at the plate, the tying run on base, and Corey Seager ends up grounding out to end that game. But still, if the Rangers hadn't dug themselves in such a hole early, they might have had a chance to win that game. But they didn't. And they keep not being able to. It just doesn't matter how much how well the starting pitchers do. If you can't score more than 3 runs, except for 2-3 times every other week, you're not going to win games. I don't care even if you do have this Mariners pitching staff. It's just not going to happen for you. And if you're getting maybe 1 extra base hit a game, maybe, usually it's a double. If you're not hitting home runs, unless you're Corey Seager, if you're not hitting with runners in scoring position, they have at least stuck with the one thing that has been working for their offense as of late, and that is being aggressive on the base paths, getting some stolen bases. But even that can only take you so far. You just gotta hit. And so far, this Rangers team isn't. But thankfully, even with these rough performances from the starting rotation, I don't think this was some indictment on Nathan Eovaldi, but it was really frustrating because the thing about Eovaldi is that when the Rangers need him most, that is usually when he's at his best. And by God, the Rangers needed him most in this one. They really needed him in that Saturday game, and he just got lit up and couldn't even give the Rangers length. Just out of it after 3 innings. And I know there's no one that's going to be more critical of him than himself, but it is a frustrating place to be when this team isn't scoring. And then when you see them pile on those runs in the 9th inning. Now, maybe they wouldn't have piled on those runs if the Mariners weren't up by that much and weren't throwing out their probably worst reliever in Bizardo. But still, they did. They finally scored against somebody. And that is an achievement of itself. It is something that has not been happening very much as of late. But still, this team needs some reinforcements. They do have some on the aisle that are coming back. And right after this word from our sponsors, we're going to talk about that. When Max Scherzer might finally be back and making his big league season debut. Right after this word from our sponsors. Get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades at spyhouse.com. SupplyHouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at supplyhouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from everywhere in just a few clicks at supplyhouse.com. Now, at the beginning of this season, it seemed like the mantra, the main point, the main idea, theme, whatever, of this whole season was just wait till those big three on the IL get back. In terms of the big three, obviously, Max Scherzer, Tyler Mahle, Jacob deGrom. And the original thought was that first you get Max Scherzer back, some point in June, then Mahle at some point in July, and deGrom at some point in August, if this team was even still in it, and trying to get him off the IL and not just make sure that he's ready for spring training next year. Well, we had the little setback from Scherzer, thinking that maybe at some point in even mid to late May he might come back, but it seems like Max Scherzer might have made his final rehab start, hopefully of the whole year, but at least of rehabbing from this injury. He threw over 75 pitches, so it's 79. He was hoping to be from, I believe, 70 to 75 pitches in the start on Saturday. He threw 79 pitches, 4 2/3 innings, 8 strikeouts, not quite outdueling, Dallas Keuchel, who is still in organized baseball, pitching in AAA for the Tacoma Rainers, Seattle's AAA affiliate, by the way, and has a 4.15 ERA. Just interesting that Dallas Keuchel has not yet hung it up. But Scherzer throwing nearly 80 pitches. I believe it's going to be Friday where he makes his season debut with the Rangers. Hopefully he'll be back up to about 100 pitches. He shouldn't have any kind of real restrictions on him for that start. We need to see exactly how he feels today, Monday, just a couple days after the start, to make sure that everything is still all hunky-dory and that he is recovering well and therefore could still pitch again even after he makes one start in the majors and just stay up. But I'm feeling good. I'm feeling optimistic. I'm feeling like, okay, getting Max Scherzer back on this team, back in this clubhouse, back in this rotation, shuffling some things around. We'll see exactly who ends up where. I honestly think that Dunning, since he can't really face the order a third time through, it might be the logical move to put in the pen. It'd be probably between him and Heaney I think has been a little bit more effective this year. He's been able to go a little bit deeper into games than he was last year, throw a little bit more pitches, be a little bit more reliable going through the order a third time. And also he's the only lefty starter in this rotation. And while I don't think that's super duper important, I think it's definitely a thing that's in his favor. And so just adding one more reliable guy who I think will thrive in the bullpen. We've seen Dunning thrive in the bullpen before as a long man. We saw it last year before Jacob deGrom got hurt, of him coming in and thriving out of the bullpen. And it kind of helped him gain some momentum to be a very, very reliable starter throughout the rest of the season. And so just every one more reliable pitcher added on the staff will make this team that much better. It's not going to fix the offense, but hopefully it can just give this team a little bit of spark of, having Max Scherzer's presence in there. I don't know, encouraging, being his Max Scherzer himself, help him loosen up. I don't really know exactly what it's going to help on that end, but just having him in this rotation is better than not having him in this rotation. And after this long rehab process, I am so excited to hopefully see Max Scherzer back on a big league mound. Speaking of rehabbing big leaguers, 2 of the 3 Joshes are in Round Rock. They started today their rehab assignment. Josh Spores is expected to be back probably around July 1st is the expectation at this point. The Rangers want to make sure that he is absolutely a full go, fully healthy, fully recovered from this second recurring shoulder injury. I guess second time he's had this shoulder injury this season. And just making sure that everything's all good to go so it's not just another false start that he makes a couple of appearances and then ends up right back on the IL. Again, same point that I made about Max Scherzer. Every reliable pitcher on this roster helps his team get that much better. What actually happens with the roster changes, we'll see exactly what that looks like. It's probably going to be Cole Winn since the Rangers already bit that bullet of DFAing Jesus Tinoco because he just wasn't quite good enough. But it helps. And the Rangers are hoping to get about 30 at-bats, or I guess plate appearances probably, from Josh Young in the minors to make sure that wrist is fully healed, fully recovered from that surgery, that he can, make all the plays, make the throws, hit, and, be fully healthy, ready to help this lineup. And again, every bat helps. Every bat helps, especially with the kind of tear that Josh Young was on for the first, 4 games of the season. Was not exactly the largest sample size, but I really felt like this was the year that Josh Young was going to explode onto the scene. And well, he exploded a little bit last year, being an all-star starter, and a World Series champion. That's not a slow start by any means, but I felt like this was the year that he, broke out and took another step. It was already an all-star starter, and a World Series champ, but going from that to true stardom, I think that's the next step for Josh Young. And I hope that he does go through this rehab all healthy, gets the all clear, gets back as soon as possible, can really help this team start to hit again, because Lord knows they could use every good bat they can get in this lineup, because it has been a rough stretch as of late. When you're having a lot of at-bats from your DH of Robbie Grossman, when you're DHing Travis Jankowski frequently, that kind of tells you I love Travis Jankowski, love El Blondie, happy belated birthday to Mr. Travis. But when your offense has Travis Jankowski regularly DHing, and I'm not saying that's the wrong move, because again, I think helping Wyatt Langford get those reps out there in the outfield so that you can trust him defensively is a good thing for him and this club long term. But when that leaves you lots of Travis Jankowski DH games, it kind of tells you all you need to know about why this offense is struggling. Maybe not all you need to know, but at least a decent amount. But I do want to end on some good news, some good, happy news, not only just those guys hopefully getting back soon and rejoining this team, and hopefully helping them to claw out of this just gigantic hole they've dug themselves in, but I want to give a shout out to Brock Burke, who, in a game that felt miserable, a game that there weren't a whole lot of highlights from the Rangers on Saturday, keeping this team in it and having a truly fantastic performance. A truly fantastic performance of 2 2/3 innings of shutout ball with just the one base runner was a walk and 4 strikeouts. It's his first appearance in 2 months. April 12th was his last appearance, the one where he broke his hand because he was so mad at himself for allowing 4 runs against those stinking Houston Astros. He looked great, and he needed that, and the Rangers needed that. And every additional one of these guys that is looking like the best version of themselves, seeing different, mostly good performances from John Hernandez, it's encouraging. Seeing guys like Jose Leclerc start to look a little bit more right. I know he did give up a solo home run, but as of late, he has looked a lot more right than he has looked wrong, and that is encouraging as well. Seeing good performances from Jacob Latz as well. If this offense can just be middle of the road, that's all I'm asking. I think they can do that. I think eventually they can get back to, good. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some adjustments. I don't know exactly what those adjustments are. If I did, I would be probably employed as a major league hitting coach. But I'm not smarter than major league hitting coaches or offensive coordinators or even assistant hitting coaches, even tertiary, whatever the 4th, 5th, 18th layer of MLB hitting coaches are. I'm not smarter than them about how to just hit good. Because if I was, I probably wouldn't be podcasting for a living. But all that to say, this was a absolutely stinker of a weekend, and it makes you start to question, when is this team going to punt on this season? Is this team going to punt on this season? Are they going to think that they're buyers at the trade deadline? I don't know. I'm eternally the optimist, and especially literally less than a year removed from winning their first ever championship with basically this exact same team. It's hard to look at them and say, you know what, they actually stink and they were never good, and you should just give up on this team. But World Series hangovers are real, and this is the hangover of all hangovers. I mean, this is like a hangover of a person who has never drank in their life, and they drink everything ever in one night. That's what kind of a hangover this feels like, especially for the offense. It's just like, oh boy, they just cannot even function at all. And not only are the Rangers, 7.5 games, 8.5 games behind in the AL West right now, they are 6 games out of the final wild card spot. The teams in between them and that final wild card spot, which is held by the Minnesota Twins, who are 39 and 32. The Rangers are 33 and 38. They've got 4 teams in between them and that third wild card, even being tied for that third wild card. Boston Red Sox, Toronto Blue Jays, the Detroit Tigers, the Tampa Bay Rays. Heck, right now they are only a half a game ahead of those stinking Houston Astros that stink and have the 4th worst record in the American League. They're closer to the worst team in Major League or in the American League, just based on where they are in their ranking of all the teams in their records. Not, I think, mathematically. I think they might be closer to the best team than the worst team in terms of games behind. But in terms of just placement overall, the Rangers are the 5th worst team in the American League right now. They're a ways off from being even the 4th worst. Actually, they're half a game away from being the 4th worst. Just a couple games away from being the 3rd worst. 5th, whatever. Whatever direction is correlating with that. It's not a great place to be right now, and I don't think the Rangers are going to punt unless they continue this absolutely anemic offense. White Langford's been better as of late, but he alone is not going to fix this lineup. Corey Seager's been mostly great, but he finally snapped his 30-game on-base streak. Marcus Semien has had a couple of good games, but he can't do everything all the time. And I mean, the bottom 4 in your lineup with Jonah Heim on the paternity leave list. Congratulations to Jonah and his wife for their 2nd, 3rd, 4th child, whatever number baby Heim this is. Congratulations to them. But I mean, when the bottom 5 bats in your lineup, heck, when the bottom 7 bats in your lineup really at this point can't be counted on to do damage consistently, you kind of have to think about when is it time to pull the plug and punt for some odd year magic from Bruce Bochy and try and run it back in 2025. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank y'all so much for listening and subscribing, and until next time, don't forget to enjoy World Series champion Texas Rangers baseball.